to thank you for the opportunity for us to gather. We pray as always for the board and the employees of the county that you'll continue to watch out and allow all of us to work together to solve issues that come before the board. We pray as always and thank you for the ability to live in Southern Illinois where we can see the seasons change. And as we approach fall, that we can have a calm harvest and we get the rain. We pray as always that you'll continue to watch over and care for each of us. Forgive us our sins in Christ's name.
Amen.
David, please.
Okay. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll call the meeting to order.
Commissioner Hartline.
Here.
Commissioner Toller.
Here.
Commissioner Foster.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Gould.
Here.
Before we get into the actual agenda, I'd like for everyone to remember Bill Jackson that passed away just recently. He was the Union County Commissioner, and Bill and Pat, his wife, both served on the Workforce Investment Board for many years, representing the county. Okay, at this time, also, I would like to recognize Dale Russell, and we have a plaque to present to him for his service as a Union County Commissioner. So Dale will be coming forward. Oh, this has been in the works for a while, but anyway, we have this plaque that we want to present it to you for your service as Union County Commissioner. We appreciate your service to the county.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to say one thing. Thanks to everybody. It was a good road, and everybody all the staff and everything worked with us at that point in time back when we were in dire needs. We brought the county around where it was at, and it took all there. And I just want they need the thanks more than I do, because they're the ones that did it. So thanks to the employees here.
Okay, this time we have an approval of minutes. Does everyone have a chance to look at the minutes? We have a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Yes. Kevin's not with us today, but we have one building permit.
You do. You have one building permit. It's for Andrew Crabtree, 392 Fawn Drive in Anna. It's for a new home, no floodplain, previously subdivided, recommended for approval.
I make a motion we approve. Permit.
Second.
Commissioner Bartlow?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is county finances. Andy, do you want to use this section to give us a quick update on the budget, where we're at?
Last time I had sent out the request to the office holders to send back, their information for what they were looking for in next year's budget. I've received most of those back. We are still waiting on a few of them to come back in. Darren and I, last week, started looking at projections for this fiscal year, because we have to know how we're going to come in this year before we can move on to next year. So that's kind of where we're at. And then in light of getting ready for 2 board meetings this week, we have not worked on it yet this week.
We don't have anything under old business. Under new business, approve the payments for the bills report. Does everyone have our bills?
Yes.
Any questions?
Make a motion to pay our bills. Second.
Commissioner Bartlow?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the Regional Office of Education update. Sheriff Rowe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me this time to come before you and kind of give you an update of what's happening at our office. So I want to go over some of the recent legislation that was signed this summer by Governor Rauner. We have, one of them is that the active shooter drill will now need to be done the first 90 days of school with students present. Before that was just, could be done, most of the school districts did it on school improvement days in the afternoon when there weren't students there, but that has been a change, and so now they will need to do that. We have a couple things with the teacher shortage. So with teacher shortage now, out-of-state license, if a teacher has an out-of-state license, they're automatically approved for an in-state license that matches that license as closely as possible. And that's a different change because before they had to come back, if they had an out-of-state license, they still had to do the testing in our state, but they've waived that and they don't have to do that anymore. So we've been seeing more of that in our office with people coming in with out-of-state licenses and being approved with an in-state license then. The other one is called a short-term emergency sub. With it, a person who has 60 hours of college credit can now be a short-term emergency sub person. Now, there is some requirements that went along with that, so it's taken us a little bit of time to get that in place, but we're now ready to work with that because the legislature also designated with that the short-term sub had to have training. And so our organization, IARSS, has been working with ISBE and the 2 teacher unions, IEA and IFT, because they were included in that legislation that it had to be in coordination, the training had to be in coordination with them. But we now have a statewide training that's we're going to offer out. So we have people that have already started applying for it that would like to be on our substitute list that we send out to the districts. So we will train those. But what it allows districts to do is many of their paraprofessionals already have the 60 hours. So if they train their teachers with this, then they're able to get that short-term emergency, and they'll be able then also to, in an emergency situation, if they need to call one of them in, to be able to sub in a classroom. So it's going to give our districts a little bit more flexibility with some of that as they're trying to find subs, because sometimes it's hard for them to be able to find subs also. So with that though, I have to have an intergovernmental agreement between the district and the union before they can attend my training. So that's what we're working on right now. So it'll take about a month for districts to have their next school board meetings and get those back in, and then we'll be ready to work with that. In October, new school report cards come out. The difference with the school report cards this time is that they'll have designations on them, and a school, it's done by schools, not by district. Schools can receive a designation of a targeted school if they have one subgroup that's not meeting. So that one subgroup could be anything. It could be gender-based, it could be income-based, it could be English language learners, it could be special ed. So it's different than before when designations were done. So that is a difference to our schools that they're dealing with, and some of them have never been on a list like that before, so this is new to our schools. With that, though, the state is looking at equity with those groups, so there is additional funding available. So if a school receives a targeted designation, the school will receive $15,000 in order to be able to do some professional development and those kinds of things to try to help to bring that subgroup up. We also have the designation of comprehensive school district. A comprehensive school district is one of the bottom 5% in the state. If it's a comprehensive school, they receive $50,000. And so because that is more is needed there to be able to provide the professional learning that those teachers may need in order to help work with those subgroups that they're working in. So we're working with our districts on that also. With that comes a school improvement plan based on the IBAM, our new quality frameworks, and all those things that the state's rolling out. So we're offering professional learning for our schools in that also, so they'll be able to meet the state guidelines for that. Teacher shortage, one of the things we're working with is SIU on Grow Your Own. So right now our districts are completing a survey for us on whether they have trouble filling positions, what positions are still open. I do have some districts within my region that still have positions open that they have not been able to fill. And so with that, we'll be able to take that and hopefully be able to use that to grow our own. We know that that still takes 2 to 3 years, even with that, if a person already has an associate's degree. But the one thing we do know is that if we can grow our own from our area, and they're rooted in that area, and their family's there, we can usually keep them in that area, which is very important for some of our districts. A large shortage of our teachers is in the special education. So with SIU, we do have a cohort starting with that in spring of people who do have associate's degree that are interested in getting a special education degree. But again, it's going to take 2 to 3 years before we get those teachers through to be able to do that. I probably should go back to the short-term emergency substitute teacher. That expires in 5 years. That does sunset. So I think the legislature will look at it again to see if we still have a teacher shortage at that time. And see whether that needs to be renewed or not. But that one is a sunset. It sunsets in 2023. So a teacher right now, a person like that can get 5 years right now, but if they come in next year, they can only get 4 years because it'll be less and less until it sunsets. But that one will sunset at this time. We are right now getting ready for our Institute Day. So on next Friday, a week from today, we bring all our teachers to Carbondale High School. And we have breakout sessions ready for them to be able to attend on different things that they're interested in, whether it's STEM, trauma, ELA, math. We have all kinds of breakout sessions available for them to attend that day. I think that's all I have in my notes. Do you have any questions for me?
On your active shooter drills, will that include our local police department?
It absolutely will, yes.
Okay.
That's usually who most school districts go through is their local police department. So it depends, my counties are different, so it depends on the county. Some of the counties that have the larger cities, they may go through actually their city police, and my more rural actually go through the county to help them. Some of them then pull those resources together, and it's both of them that are at those, so they kind of do it different according to the different counties.
You're going to incorporate?
We've already done 3 already.
Okay, good.
Most of them are on top of it. The difference is, really the main difference is next year's student present ends the first 90 days of school. Whereas they've been able to do it throughout the school year.
I think it's a good call.
Actually, there's really been no change for us because we've been doing.
You've been able to get them in that time period?
Yeah, we
Good.
do that with the students' presence.
Good.
Okay.
I think that's good.
Any other questions?
I just say once again, we appreciate you having an office and Ann extension.
That is very beneficial to us too, for our districts down here to be able to get. It helps us in that we are able, when people are looking for a license, to scan documents in much more quicker than they can at ISBE. They sit at ISBE, honestly, when they go there for sometimes weeks, sometimes months, because they are that far behind. So having that office there helps us to be able to scan those documents in quicker and get these licenses through quicker. So we appreciate having it there also. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for your support for our office.
Next on the agenda is the resolution appointing director of Union County Hospital District Board, Patty Fleming. A short time ago, we had appointed Mike Stagel to that position, and it was determined that he will be relocating outside Union County. So he's no longer eligible to serve in that position. I know they conferred with you, on that. And they have recommended Patty Flam to be appointed to that position. So I will make the motion to appoint Patty Flam as the director of Eaton County Hospital District Board.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tolan?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Ewing?
Next on the agenda is a resolution appointing a trustee for the Wolf Lake Ware Fire Protection District. We have a letter of recommendation from the Ware Wolf Lake Fire Protection District asking that we reappoint Wayne Legacy to that position that expires in September. So at this time, I'll make that motion that we appoint Wayne Legacy as a trustee to the Wolf Lake Ware Fire Protection District. Second.
Commissioner Hartline?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tolan?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Ewing?
Next on the agenda is a mutual aid agreement between Massac Emergency Management Agency and Union County Emergency Services and Disaster Relief. I have a letter here from Dana Pearson, who is our ESDA coordinator. From the letter, Massac County's coordinator has passed away, and they're trying to update their mutual aid agreements. And they asked that we sign an agreement with mutual aid with Massac County. I don't grant you have agreements with them.
Yes.
And in case we were to have an emergency, they would help us, or if they had an emergency, we would help them. So I think it's very beneficial, you know, on our part that we do this. So, is there any questions? Yeah, have a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tolan?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Ewing?
Yes. Next on the agenda, we have approval of collective bargaining agreement between Union County, Illinois and the Union County State's Attorney's Office and Laborers Local Unit 773. Has everyone on the board had a chance to look at the agreement? Are there any questions? Everybody good? Okay, did 773 like same thing before?
The contract was typed up, it was negotiated by, Red Markey, and, Red had full belief that the contract we negotiated, we passed last time to do it.
Got a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve agreement with the county state attorney's office.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Next on the agenda is approval of a collective bargaining agreement between Union County, Illinois, and the Union County Treasurer's Office, number 773. Any questions?
Move pass. Second.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Next on the agenda is approval of collective bargaining agreement between Union County, Illinois, and the Union County Clerk's Office and the Laborers Local Union 773. Any questions? If not, I make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Next on the agenda is approval of a collective bargaining agreement between Union County, Illinois, and the Union County Supervisors of Assessments and the Laborers Local 773. Any discussion? If not, have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution to transfer the 2018 budget appropriations. And at this time, that needs to be tabled. We're still putting together the information for that. So that will probably appear on the first budget meeting in October. So that's to be tabled. Next on the agenda is Union County Senior Citizens Council contribution. They're asking for a contribution from senior citizens money that comes into the county by a referendum. And in the past, when they furnish us with their bank statements, and in the past, when they reach a certain level, they usually ask us to put some more money into their account, so that they can supplement, means through their program. In the past, I think we gave them 6,000. There's budgeted amount, I think there's still 14,000 left in that account.
Correct.
Is there any discussion?
I make a motion, we appropriate $6,000 to give to senior citizens.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Tillman,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
At this time, we don't have anything for executive session. Are there any committee reports? Is there any other business in this section?
I'm sorry, what?
Tiffany, do you want to do yours in this section?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, all I did was get an email that just the payroll was denied for the management, so they said I needed to meet with the board, so that was all the information that I had, because I submitted it last Friday, at 3:14 PM prior to payroll for Monday, and then I was told yesterday at 9:30 in the morning that it was denied. So I just needed to know why or what the explanation was.
Do you want me to discuss it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm the one who sent Tiffany the email. I sent it to her yesterday to tell her that the extra pay that she submitted for a manager was not approved by the board, and instead that you guys wanted to talk to her at the board meeting. So the reason was I was not sure how to handle it, and I sent numerous emails to you guys, to Tyler, to Rhett, asking for advice on how to proceed with her request, because it was removed by the board out of the fiscal year 2018 budget, and communicated to Tiffany that it was not to be filled after the previous person had retired, and the previous person retired in March, and it hasn't been filled this whole time. And then when I get payroll out of my mailbox on Monday morning, I have a request in there. First I've heard of it with regards to additional pay for a manager. So at that time, that's why I was trying to figure out what do I need to do. She does have money in her budget for manager, because the board, when the fiscal year 2018 budget was prepared, the board was under the assumption that an employee in her office was going to retire at the end of July. That person retired early, which left some money in her budget. But like I said, it was communicated to not fill that position. But so she has money in the assistant line, but then not as much money in the employee line. So that's why kind of where we're at. And I guess I just had some questions on why we need a manager in that office, and what's the roles of the manager? Like, do we have a job description?
Okay, I'm
What
going
do
to
they
interrupt.
do?
I'm the office holder, and it's in my contract. It was previously signed by the county board. We are in negotiations, but it has not been removed. It's actually registered with the Illinois state, with the state of Illinois and the Illinois Department of Labor Relations. It was petitioned through the state, so that's why it is in my contract. So it goes way above the county level to the state level. So I'm not sure that Ms. Johnson's aware of that, but it's not her decision to, when I have money, the budget was approved by the Board of Commissioners, not Ms. Johnson. So if it was approved by the board and I have it appropriated and I still have enough in my management line as well as my employee line to pay for my 7 people. The reason why it had not been filled is because there had been a grievance filed. When the grievance was dismissed based on that MOU that Rhett emailed back and had communicated with the union, when I filled my 7th position, then now I have taken a bond with the union contract to hire and fill my position of management, which is in there. So it's not her decision to know what the role of my management does. That is what I do, and that is reported through the state. So at that point, that's why I have filled my 7th position and my manager position. And I have enough to get it through to the end of the year based on those calculations.
That's not accurate. She doesn't have enough money to get it through to the end of the year unless she's going to move stuff, which she can move between funds. If she doesn't want to keep all 3 people in the general fund and she wants to move one of them out into court automation or document and storage, then there would be enough money to do that. But that's the question we had, is that it's being submitted in the general fund, and that's why I'd reached out to Tyler and to Rhett and said, what is the process? If there's money in the account right now, do I approve it now, and then at the end of the fiscal year, okay, now somebody has to come out of the general fund budget? Or do I let her know now, and, you know, what do we do? How do we proceed? And so that's why I sent multiple emails asking how to proceed with this. Because I didn't know when is the time. Do you deny somebody right at the very end, or do you deny somebody as soon as you're made aware that there's not enough money? Now, the reason that there's not enough money in the account is if
There's
you,
enough right now. There's money in there, so it should have never been denied, because if there's money in there, that's interfering with the internal operations of my office. The county board of these 5 members have passed my budget. There's enough in there, so you had no authority to deny that payroll, none whatsoever. There is money in that line that can pay this woman's payroll right now.
but you will run out before the end of the year.
No, I will not, but it
Yes,
doesn't
you
matter.
will.
There's enough in there now, so it shouldn't have been denied.
Okay, let's make our points, but let's not get into tonight, okay? But we can still make our point, okay?
But even with her not having if she never got an answer to deny it or to approve it, so why was it denied then? I'm asking you as the 5 commissioners then, if she didn't have a legal opinion telling her to deny it, why was it denied? I'm asking you 5 because you're the commissioners.
I did ask the question, where was the money coming from, and did we have enough that, you know, and if the money's in there now, but it's not gonna be by the end of the fiscal year to finish out the year, then yes, I did have a question of, is this money gonna last? Because, you know, the last thing we wanna do is make a manager or hire somebody, and then by the time that the end of the fiscal year comes, we run out of money, so we can't pay what we obligated ourselves to pay. That, and I'm just telling you, I had that question. Do we have the money to pay what was in there now? That was my question.
But I have enough in there right now to pay it, and it's in
For
my.
right now, or does
Through
it?
the end, I've already done the calculation.
Okay, well, and that was my question.
That's not accurate. It's not accurate.
Okay, can you
When-
provide the numbers then right now?
I can.
But even at
So-
that, it's in my agreement to hire that management, so it's already in my agreement, and you, and it's already.
And I understand that. I understand that. Like I say, my question was that if we hire management and we have the other person in there, then my question as a commissioner was, do we have enough to last to the end of the fiscal year? Because like I say, and you and I talked about this, Tiffany, when the 7th person, when that was hired, do you have enough to last? And does that person know that at the end of this fiscal year that money's gone?
Mhm.
Okay, and you and I had that discussion.
Right, because I even had the one on maternity leave and she ran out of time, so that was even an unpaid absence. as
Right,
well.
and I understand, and that's all I was asking was the monies that are there, because I don't think it's fair, and again, it's your call because it's your office, but to hire somebody knowing that we don't have enough money to last.
But again, you just said, it's my call and it's my office, and I did that and it was denied, and I don't think that that's right, because I know that you said you inquired, but you're one of 5, and it was denied without even the legal advisor telling her to deny it, and I don't think that she had that authority to do so when there's enough right there to pay. There was enough to pay tomorrow's payroll or today's payroll. So
Well, I did talk to Angie and said, let's find out on the money. So as far as denying, I said, let's hold up. I did say that. Let's hold up till we find out if the money's there.
But you're one of 5 though. Do you have the authority without being on
No.
executive session?
No,
So
it
then
was-
why
it was
it
my-
denied?
That was, and I put in there, it was my opinion that this is what we should do. So,
But should she not have had to ask the other 4 or go to the court it was denied? So, she's held up a payroll and it's in my agreement. And everyone's saying there's gonna be a shortfall for the upcoming budget, but then you guys incorporated 4-year raises for them with built-in
well,
raises,
I
and it's
wasn't
already in line.
talking about the upcoming budget. I was talking about the budget at hand.
But there's still enough in there today to.
Well,
pay
and
that
that's
she
where,
could have had that position.
and that's where we have a discrepancy between what you figure and what our manager figures. So that's what I was wanting to know is, where is our money? Do we have enough money? That was my question. And you're right, I'm one of 5. I'll let the other
But
4.
there's money in there now, so that's my question. I don't understand why she was denied. And we've got Tyler here today and he's our legal advisor
And I reached out to Tyler and he did not comment. Instead, Rhett Barkey commented, and I went off the advice of the attorney that commented to my email. He suggested in my email that we get more information from you as far as, basically, what was the plan going forward? How are we gonna cover this expense for the rest of the year? How are you gonna cover this expense next year? If you're given the same amount of money that you're given this year, are you looking to lay off somebody else because you don't have enough money in your budget for next year? I also reached out to all 5 commissioners, and I heard back from them before it was ever denied.
Okay, it sounds like, just like we did with the 7th employee, putting those sets of figures together, we determined that you did have enough money to do that. Okay, that's where we're at right now. We need to get our figures together, compare, and see where we're at. And if we've got money to do it, we have to pay it. But we need to compare our figures and get together on it.
But there's money in there now though, so.
That's what I'm getting at though. We need to compare and see where we're at. Because, we're going back and forth about and we're not getting anywhere. We need to compare our figures and make sure that we can come to an agreement on how much money we have that can be used for this purpose.
But I mean, where I stand and my standpoint is it's in my union contract with my staff, so I had to fill the 7th position, and when I filled that, I had to fill the management because it is in my contract. So if I didn't fill it, then they would be filing a grievance for the management position. So, I mean, in that perspective, I thought that it would be to help the county board as well as myself because the grievance is gonna be against both of us. But it's in there, it was passed to be in there, it's still in there at this point, so it wasn't brought up to even be negotiated until September 5th when she sent the email to Charlie to try to remove it, and then took a stab at it to do her own verbiage to have it removed. So at that point, it's in the contract, so if I filled the 7th position, since I have the money in there, I had to go ahead and move forward to fill the management.
And when you're saying that you have the money in there now, does that mean to pay on this payroll and maybe next payroll, but do you have enough money that you figure in there now to pay both positions till the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and that's the question. I think that's what Bobby's getting at.
Yeah, we need to see where we're at.
Yeah.
And if the money's there, it's not an issue as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, but the money's there today, so when is she gonna get her paycheck? Because I approved my payroll, that's the internal operations of my office, I submitted it, and then it was denied. So I have an employee that was told, this is your paycheck, this is how much you're gonna get, and she did not receive it today. And that is a major problem. So the union is here with her because she's expecting to get her paycheck today.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
I come here and, with Judy, first and foremost, to see the contract. Secondly, Judy called me yesterday and let me know what was going on. And, my obligation is to represent, our members, first and foremost. And secondly, to do some labor relations between the county, the employer, and our members. And I think we have this in the contract, the management position. And seems like it's just being scratched out without authorization. And I think we need to really sit down and hash things out and move forward in a positive way. And I think we can all do that if given the time to do so.
Yeah, I agree. Is anybody else anything they'd like to say? Yes.
So this will be taken care of today? I'm expecting it today.
Can it be done? I know we have to do a special payroll. And it's up to the rest of the board. I'm not the only one,
We need to pay.
Yeah.
For what's something.
Can we do a payroll?
I don't know. I mean, Angela Knupp is off today. She's the one that handles the payroll. But I can check into it if that's the wishes that the board has. If that's the way you want to go, that's what we'll do. That's why I tried to reach out before payroll was ever done.
So I'm expecting them today.
I can hear you.
There needs to be communications. I mean, if this was something that was unusual, just out of the blue, communication somewhere before that was submitted to
the payroll department. I mean, and that's what I'm saying, and you are representing you. You know, that's a failure around here, lack of communications all the way around.
But it's been in our union contract though, and they're
But
aware
it's
that
still, it's something that happened unexpected.
And it
Well, but I
hasn't been
submitted
filled
it
for
last
6
minute.
months.
I know, and I submitted it last Friday though, and I didn't get my email until the denial until 9:30 yesterday morning. So I mean, they had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 days. And if it was being communicated to 5 and to 2 attorneys, why didn't she reach out, pick up the phone and call me Monday? And that's a
Why
lot.
didn't, when you submit it, also go to her
Well, I
and
know.
say, here's the email?
And I told her if she would look on her phone, you could go to the little figure 8 333. I've called her twice
I'm not
this week
making a
and
point
there's been
about
no
it.
answer or
Communications
return
is
call.
very weak around here in my 5 months on the board. You know, we need to improve between office holders and the board and to Angie and Angela. And that is a very weak area, and we all need to work together and address that issue. That's my observations in the 5 months I've been here.
And just in my defense, if she said she submitted it, I think 3 something on a Friday, I did not check my outside mailbox. It was not brought into my office. It was dropped off on the outside. I got it on Monday morning and I emailed all of you. As soon as I got it, I emailed you, I emailed Tyler, I emailed Rhett. I didn't hear from anybody Monday. I knew we had to do payroll by Wednesday. I sent another email on Tuesday. I sent an email Tuesday at like 5 or 5:30 in the evening saying, I'm still not hearing from anybody. I need some legal advice. No one would respond. Finally, Rhett Barkey called me. That's the advice I went off of. Payroll had to be released. We could
We're
not.
not relying so much on emails anymore. I mean, to be able to walk in an office next door or make a phone call or whatever. I had my, because my dad is not well. We need, but I don't look at it all the time on emails. I may not get her email until evening time when I get my phone out. And so that's all I'm saying. We need to communicate better, guys.
Okay, is it the agreement of this board that everything needs to be done today to try to make this payment?
Or some considerations is made with that would satisfy her.
I think it should be today.
Possible.
And that's, you guys see this happen. We'll do everything we can. We'll do everything we can to try to make it happen. Okay?
And I will say, Tiffany, that, you know, for what Commissioner Gould, he does bring up a point that, you know, that you said that you were doing this to protect your office and the board. And I understand that. Well, then, you know, then if we'd have known when you did this, instead of when you submitted the payroll, then we could look at that, right? And so I do agree with that. I do. I mean, if it was for protection of you and us, then we should have been part of it.
Well, but then it kind of goes both ways with what he's saying in communication. I mean, I'm just right over there in that
Oh,
office too, and I don't see many 5 of you very often either. I mean,
No,
it goes both ways.
But I have been in to talk to
Communication-
you about the,
I know,
what we're
but I mean,
talking
it
about.
does go a two-way street. I mean, and
communication
I
is a
mean,
two-way. Communication is a two-way street, and like I say, that, and I just said that and then it's done, but I mean, you know, if we had known earlier, and as one commissioner, I have been into your office to talk about these issues. But I'm only one, I agree that.
I have a question though. So she's saying that she emailed Rhett, and this was in reference to payroll. So is Rhett just the attorney for the board for negotiations, or is he now the attorney for multiple things? Because it seems like we're outsourcing so much of our, I mean, in
No, this was a union issue. It entailed a union issue, so I think that call was appropriate. And like she said, she tried to call several people. Brett was the one, and like I say, I responded to her, and I gave her my opinion. And like I say, she reached out, and Retsu called back. I think that was appropriate.
But I mean, Rhett has the authority then to stop it with.
Rhett
only
does
one
not have the
commissioner.
authority, Rhett has an opinion.
So-
We make the call, you're absolutely
Okay,
correct,
so-
but we,
So I just wanted to make it clear then, so it wasn't voted on between 5 that it was stopped. I mean, it was just the decision that based off your opinion and Rhett's that that's why it was not paid.
my opinion alone, I have no idea if it was, I'll let the other 4 speak for themselves, but
I can answer that for you. It was Rhett's opinion. I reached out. I heard from every one of you except Bobby. He said he was having a problem with his phone and couldn't respond, but I heard from the other 4.
To not pay it.
Yes.
That answers, that's what she was wanting to know. She wanted to know then, so.
Yeah. So,
I
yeah.
also want to go, you passed everybody else's contracts whenever there was negotiations. I shook hands with everybody else. We had made a deal at that point, and then all of a sudden, things have changed.
From the information I have, and you can kind of enlighten us on this too. The MOU is still in discussion, on the circuit part contract. And I'm not arguing, but that's what I got from the email.
Well, the MOU that's attached to the contract, it does not have sunset clause in it, so I mean, it is still attached to the contract and will be until it's negotiated out. And as far as I know right now, we are still in negotiations.
Right.
That's correct.
So,
So everything else in the contract then was,
And I mean,
is
I
the
have,
way it was when we shook hands. Because that was the way the contract was, and we shook hands on that.
You're talking about the management section.
Yes. The management clause, we shook hands right in here.
There's
So-
2 things that are outstanding right now with the contract, my understanding, the MOU and the manager clause. The manager clause, I had just simply sent out a question and said at the beginning of the contract, it references a case, and the case, Angela Knupp asked Tyler to send to her way previously. He had sent it to her so that we had a copy of the case. The case specifically says who's included and excluded from the bargaining unit. The excluded part says excluded are the elected official and supervisors and managers. So that's why I reached out and said, how can the case say you can't cover supervisors and managers, but then yet we are talking about a supervisor and manager in the contract? I've sent that verbiage to Rhett. I've sent the question to Tyler. I've tried to figure out just to get some clarification on, can the union cover a manager or not?
the answer is yes on that. We can cover a manager. This was brought to the board back in 2010. We filed a petition with the ILRB. The ILRB approved it. The county did nothing. They sat on their hands. They let this go through. So absolutely, it's in the contract. And if this is going to be brought up, I mean, this should have been brought up in negotiations, not after a handshake and a table agreement was made. I mean, that's pretty big allegations right there whenever all of a sudden we're going to pull something out of the contract after I feel that we have a table agreement.
That was the point I was trying to make. None of that was brought up prior to the handshake, so I guess those don't mean anything.
And it's not the attorney that brought it to my attention either. You know, and I got a problem with that whenever I'm getting stuff from the county administrator and I'll feel.
Oh, Charlie, you email me constantly, just me. Do not include the rest of the board, do not include Rhett, and every response I have sent, I have made sure I included both Danny and Max because they're the negotiating team, and Rhett. And I've called Rhett and said, Rhett, please notice it's not me that keeps removing you from the emails. It is Charlie that keeps removing you from the emails. When I copy back, I always include them. I had to send multiple emails directly to you. The reason why I was emailing you and not Rhett is because there were so many misspelled words and mistakes in the contract. Page numbers not done, years not updated. All this stuff was wrong. There was no reason for Rhett to spend his time doing all that when they were minor things. It wasn't stuff we were trying to negotiate. So I would
If we
send
have
it.
clerical errors,
But
we'll take care of the
I
clerical errors
understand,
together.
but that's
whenever
why
you
I
want to
was
remove
communicating.
A full article out of a contract, that is not your authority to move.
I
forward.
never asked for it to be removed. Never asked for it to be removed. I asked for clarification if it could be in there. If one part of the contract says you can't cover managers, and then you have a manager section, all I did was ask is this legal? That's all I asked. I didn't ask to remove it.
Okay, so I could say,
We need to move on. You haven't answered to what you were here for. Okay, we need to move on. If there needs to be more negotiations between the union and the bargaining people from this, that represent this board, we can do it. Okay, but we need to move on from this because this is going in a different direction.
Yep.
Okay. At this time, do we have any public comments? Yes.
On the same subject, so let's say, the way I understand it, once you guys approve a budget for the office holders, that's their problem. If it doesn't, if it doesn't make it through the year and they have to lay off, that's their problem. Let's say, for instance, Scott promotes Asa Busby. And you look and you don't see enough money in there, would someone deny that? Deny Asa's promotion?
Yeah. Seems like wrong.
Isn't that the same analogy as what's happened? No?
We have a situation right now that exists, where someone has went over the budget and we don't have money to pay the bills. And we're in the process of determining what we're gonna do. If the money's there, you know, that's different, but if the money's not there, that's a problem. And for us to find the money to take care of that situation, we have to look everywhere. We can't just, you know, we have to look at what money is available to take care of that situation.
Okay, I have one other procedural question. Vet Barkey, who you guys have hired, which you have hired to represent management in negotiations. I don't understand how she can call on him for a legal opinion between the two. How is he giving legal opinions on what to do for the county?
On contractual issues, you know.
But he's paid to represent management, correct?
Yes. On contractual issues.
Well, on this issue.
Personally, myself, I like for Tyler to be included on everything that comes out here. And I think, for the most part, that does happen.
He was.
So. Yes.
I have a question. I can't always attend the county board meetings, but I'm very interested in what happens during them all. And usually what I do is go online and look at the video. I was wondering why parts of July, all of August, your earlier meeting in September have not been posted yet. What's the delay in getting those on, and can there be some kind of resolution to make sure that they're put in on the website within a timely manner? I think within a week should be more than enough time to upload a video onto the county website.
I don't either. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. And it was brought one time before. I think Debbie brought it up once before. And I did have us to look into it. And I think some things were put on at that time, but I'm not aware of the older stuff that's still not being there.
The current stuff isn't. I'm the one that brought it up one day when the Mayor Network was in here, and he said that they were waiting until they got the new system, and then everything would be dumped and uploaded to put on there, but it still hasn't taken place. Because I've tried to find them too, and they're still not on the county website.
Okay. We'll definitely check and get you an answer. We'll find it out.
They're not on the county website. They are on the YouTube. They're on YouTube. They go on there probably within a week after the meeting, sometimes within a couple days after the meetings, but they're not on the website. The problem that we're having there is just taking the time to get them there. After Raleigh's departure, we don't have anybody to just end all the information, the minutes, the agenda. Actually, I think they're missing minutes, agendas, and the videos from the websites. So we need a person in charge of Raleigh's old task, which includes sending the information to Mayor Networks. But they are on YouTube. If you if you look that way, they're just not on the website.
I don't understand why a video of a county board meeting would make it to YouTube before it would make it to the county website. It just seems inexcusable, and saying that you need to hire somebody to do that. Are you not management for it's like for the board, shouldn't that be part of your job, is to make sure that the board's minutes and videos and that get taken care of in a timely manner?
To take care of the technology needs, no, that's not part of my job description.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, we need to look into it. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't.
It seems like it's been brought up multiple times, and I'm just wondering, is it time that we need to just have a resolution that these things will be taken care of in a timely manner, so that the people who elected you can pull it up and see what's been going on if they can't make it here in person.
The last time it was brought up, maybe Tiffany, you did bring it up. It was right in the process of converting to the new server and everything else, and that was what was told then. I thought it'd been done myself, so, yeah.
How are they listed on YouTube then? 'Cause I don't even know. I don't know
I
how they
have
have
no
a
idea.
YouTube.
I've
You know how
watched
they
them.
are listed?
There's that to answer your question, that's why they're on YouTube first, is because the camera and everything we're using here is the go live on YouTube. So that's why they're on there.
How can
So-
people in the county find that?
Yes, so
on
if you go to YouTube and you go to the County of Union, Illinois, it's got its page, and then all the videos are on there. Like previous videos and everything, they've all been uploaded there.
Maybe what we need to do is put a link to that YouTube just right on there if you want to watch it. That would be the quickest way.
From our website?
Yeah.
Like from our website, yeah.
Just put a link.
A link to the YouTube account.
Because I wouldn't want to find it either.
Yeah, that would. Okay. Any other comments?
I have a question. How much money, county money is going to pay Red Park?
How much
How much, yes, how much of the taxpayers' money is going to pay?
today,
Pardon?
how much we spend today,
Yes, how much, yes.
Okay, we can get that for you.
I don't know offhand,
No,
how much
sure,
money, but it's something I can look up, yes.
So he's paid by, for service? So he doesn't have a salary every time?
Paid by the hour.
He's paid by the hour.
So I just have a quick question then. So when you were saying that, we don't know who it is, but whoever went over on their budget, and you said you have to look all avenues, all sources. So, is that saying that you're gonna, can you come to the office holders? Because we've already been appropriated our money. So we, it's already been passed that we needed to spend ours. Is that what the intention was, to pull from other offices to try to cover someone going over? Or are you gonna have to go from contingency? Because
But we have to look at a lot of different revenue sources, and then in the end, if you don't stay within your budget, it's gonna hurt something or somebody. So that's why it's very important to stay within your budget.
So the answer to my question is how money is going out. Who do I ask to find,
She will get that.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to give me your contact information after the meeting, I can either email, call you, whatever you want.
you already have that information?
Same email that you sent your application to?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
If I could, I'd like to reinforce what Mr. Ferguson said. If there was a tentative agreement with the board in negotiations, and the article that's being talked about now was not discussed or asked to be taken out, that is a very serious labor charge against the county. Very serious.
Any other comments?
I have a few comments
Yes.
I would like to make. Well, one, I think communication is a major problem around here, and it's very frustrating. I'm just going to put it that way. The answer on the payroll is very clear. If the payroll is submitted in the office holder and it's in the budget, it needs to be paid. So no, I did not respond to Angie's email that I received Monday night at 6 o'clock because Tuesday I was in court and working all day on the 911 agreement that you wanted done for Wednesday. And I was also working on it Wednesday morning. Why was I working on that all day Tuesday and Wednesday? Because of a lack of communication. Because it was the understanding of several of us that we weren't going to proceed on that, and then we decided we were going to proceed on that. So the communication issue is much bigger, I think, than is even being acknowledged here today. We've got some major communication problems. And I think that also relates to our use of outside counsel, because I've talked with Angie about this, and no disrespect to the union or anyone else, but I was very clear when I agreed that we were going to use outside counsel, that we were going to be the ones drafting the contracts. And what I explained to you was, if I'm drafting the contract, it's not going to cost us anything, and we're going to draft it in our office. If we're going to use outside counsel, we're obviously going to have to pay them for that, but that is your choice. If you choose to use outside counsel, that's going to cost us more money. I have been very cooperative in your choice to use outside counsel, although I didn't personally think it was probably the best thing. No problem, Mr. Barkey. He's a friend of mine, and I think he does a great job. But I was very clear when I agreed to that of how that was to be done, and then I find out when I start receiving contracts that the union is drafting them. That was the practice before I was the state's attorney. I didn't think it was a good practice for the county. And then that's gone out the window after I made that very clear that that was one of the conditions that I had for using outside counsel. So I'm not very happy about that, because then now look at what has happened. We have miscommunication about what's in the contract, and I think it's just making things even worse. Secondly, I also discussed when we talked about outside counsel, it's very clear what's the outside counsel doing and what aren't they doing. And this issue, this payroll issue, is not a union issue. This is not a union contract issue. This is a payroll issue, and I don't think it was really appropriate for outside counsel to weigh in on that. And also, as it relates to outside counsel, I do not like, and I was very clear when we talked about using outside counsel, we're not going to get into the business of getting two opinions and we're going to decide which opinion we like. I'm not going to weigh in on something where you're asking Mr. Barkey's opinion and paying for it, and I don't think he should be come in to second guess my opinion on issues that are within the purview of the state's attorney's office. So those are all communication issues. That's really the number one problem that we have here. And it is very frustrating. I also think these IT issues relate to communication issues. You know what? We don't have Raleigh Hawk here to put things on the website. And I was very clear, and the treasurer was very clear when we got an outside IT firm, we need to have people to do all of these things, and we don't have that with our current IT situation. I was very clear about that. I don't really feel that concern was taken into account, and I have a whole lot of IT problems that I'm not going to get into today that I deal with every day in our office, and it's an absolute nightmare, our IT situation right now. But that is for another conversation. So I just think we all need to work on our communication, and I apologize if sometimes I can't respond to an email because I'm trying to do some other things. But I know everyone is trying to do the right thing here, and I think we all want what's best for the county, but I think we all really need to ourselves revisit our communications, our listening, and our remembering of some of our conversations that we have. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to clarify something, Tiffany. I'm in here regularly. MG can confirm. I mean, it seems like every time I'm in, somebody's in here. Do I come to your office? No. Do I go to any of the offices? No. You know, if you need me, you can reach out to me. How many times have you reached out to me by email or a phone call or whatever? Probably very little, if any. If I reached out to you very often, not very many times. But you run the office. Do I need to? No. But on this problem, you should have reached out, you know, maybe to us. And so, you know, I'm just trying to be supportive. I'm still learning. I mean, there's no question. These agreements that Tyler's, you guys are all talking about, I said, yes, let's hold up the pay because I don't know what's going on. You know, so you included me as the 5, yeah, but I don't know any of the agreements. And you said there was a handshake agreement. I wasn't a part of it. I didn't even know it. So, you know, those are things we need to all be willing to cooperate with. Tyler, right? I mean, that's what you're doing.
There needs to be a lot better communication around here.
With all the office holders.
And that's just what I'm asking is, I mean, I understand, you know, communication works both ways, but I'm just asking is that I submitted the payroll, there's money in there now, and I think that she should be paid today, because I think that that's only fair.
And you've explained yourself, but you know, she's my liaison, you know, because I can't go every time I'm in here at every office. You guys will never get anything done. Get the information to her, you know, and talk to her. Just don't send her an email. I mean, she may not have gotten it until, like you said, Monday morning, you know, if it was late Friday. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, do we have any other comments? None, need a motion adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Hartline?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster? Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowie?
Yes.